Today, I'm going to give you something that most job seekers over 50 never get. A clear, evidence-based strategy on how to spend your job search time so that you're not spinning your wheels, burning out, or applying to hundreds of jobs with nothing to show for it. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly where the jobs are actually found, how to prioritize your time, and how to build a weekly routine that dramatically increases your chances of getting hired, even in a market that feels stacked against you. I'm John Stech, and let's get into it. Before we talk strategy, we need to talk about reality, because most people, especially over 50, are spending their job search time in the wrong places. Here's what the research shows about how people actually get hired today. Number one, networking and personal connections. Depending on the study, 50 to 85% of all jobs are filled through networking. That means that more than half, and in some cases, almost all of the hiring happens through people that know you, or people who know someone who know you. Number two, recruiters. These can be internal and external recruiters, and they account for roughly 10 to 20% of hires. They're important, but they're definitely not your main job search engine. And number three, job boards. LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, all of them combined, they account for only 5 to 20% of hires. And that's being generous. Job boards are the most crowded, the most competitive, and frankly, the lowest yield part of the job market. So if you're spending 80% of your time on job boards, you're putting most of your energy into the channel that produces the fewest results. Let's fix that. Based on the data, here's the weekly prioritization model that I recommend for job seekers over 50. This is the strategy that I developed for myself in 2020 when a corporate restructuring hit me just before the COVID pandemic began. Networking, 10 to 15 meaningful outreach actions per week. Recruiters, 3 to 5 interactions per week. And job boards, 8 to 12 high-quality applications per week. This model mirrors the actual success rates. It puts your time where the results really are. Now, let's walk through each channel, starting with the one that matters most. Let's talk about networking. The word that I know a lot of you cringe at the thought. But networking, it doesn't mean schmoozing, and it doesn't mean begging, and it definitely doesn't mean asking people for jobs. No, networking is simply this: staying visible to people who already believe in you. Here's why networking is so powerful, especially for people over 50. Hiring managers, they trust referrals more than resumes. Also, referrals, they bypass the ATS, and referrals, they reduce risk, and older workers are, quite frankly, unfairly seen as risky. Most jobs are filled before they're ever posted. So when you're over 50, networking is not optional. It's your actual competitive advantage. Think about it. Many of your peers, your friends, they're now in high-level decision-making roles. Your goal is about 10 to 15 meaningful outreach actions per week. That's 2 or 3 a day. That's completely manageable. Here's the breakdown that I recommend. 6 to 8 LinkedIn messages, maybe 2 to 4 emails, and 1 to 3 calls or Zoom calls. And no, these are not "do you have a job" messages. These are reconnection messages. They're curiosity messages, and they're value sharing messages. Here are examples of what counts as meaningful outreach. Something like, "I saw your post on X. It was thoughtful. How are things going on your end?" Or, "I'm exploring new opportunities in operations leadership. Would you give me your perspective on the market?" Or perhaps, "I'm reconnecting with people I enjoyed working with. How are you?" Or lastly, "I'd love to pick your brain about trends in our industry." Notice, you're not asking for a job in any one of those examples. You're just asking for insight. And insight, it leads to conversations, and conversations lead to opportunities. Follow up about once every 7 to 10 days. If they don't respond, send a follow-up in 3 to 4 weeks. After that, just move them into the quarterly check-in list. This is how you keep a warm, active network without being pushy, awkward, or don't be desperate. Next up are recruiters. Recruiters, they're important, but they are absolutely not magicians. They don't work for you. They work for companies, either their own employer or for an external recruiter. And they prioritize candidates who are easy to place. That means your job is to make their job easier. Your goal is 3 to 5 recruiter interactions per week. That includes 1 to 2 new recruiter introductions and 2 to 3 follow-ups with recruiters that you already know. This keeps you on their radar without overwhelming them. When you reach out, be specific. Examples can be, I'm targeting director-level operations roles in manufacturing and logistics, or here's my updated resume. I've added my recent project results, or I saw a role at your company that aligns with my background. Is this one that you're supporting? Recruiters, they love clarity. They love updates, and they love candidates who make communication easy. Check in every 2 to 3 weeks. Weekly check-ins, they feel desperate, and quarterly check-ins, they feel disconnected. Recruiters, they're not your primary job search engine, but they are powerful allies when you build that relationship in the right way. Finally, let's talk about job boards, the place where most people spend most of their time and, frankly, get the fewest results. But job boards, they do matter. You just need to use them strategically. Your goal is 8 to 12 high-quality applications per week. Not 30, not 50, not 100. And listen, high quality, what does that mean? It means that you meet 70% of the requirements for the job, that you tailor the top third of your resume, that you apply within the first 48 hours, and that you use keywords taken directly from the job description. That's how you're going to beat the ATS. If you can identify the hiring manager or the recruiter, send them a short message or email, maybe 24 to 48 hours after applying. Send them something like, I applied for the senior analyst role and wanted to introduce myself directly. Or I'd love to share more about how my background aligns with your team's goals. But if you can't identify anyone, don't stress. Just move on and wait to hear back. Job boards, they give you structure. They give you visibility. They can help you understand the market demand. But they should never be your primary strategy, especially over 50. Before we wrap up job boards, I want to talk about something that frustrates a lot of job seekers, especially people over 50, and that's the rise of ghost job postings on LinkedIn and other job boards. Ghost postings are job ads that look real, they sound real, they feel like they're written for real jobs, but behind the scenes, there's no actual active hiring happening at all. It's estimated that up to 1/3 of postings could be ghost postings based on a 2025 study. And there's a 2024 study where 30 to 40% of companies admitted to using ghost postings. Seems kind of sneaky, right? So why do these things exist? Well, there are a few reasons, and none of them have anything to do with you or your qualifications. First, some companies, they post jobs to collect resumes for future roles, even if they're not hiring right at this moment. They want to put together a pipeline so that when a role does open, they already have candidates in their system. Second, some companies, they post jobs because they're required to show active hiring, even if they've already chosen that internal candidate. The posting is just a frustrating formality to those on the outside. And then third, some companies, they post jobs to signal growth to investors or to companies. It's a branding move. It's not a hiring move. There's no actual hiring happening. And to me, frankly, that seems very disingenuous. Finally, some postings are simply outdated. The job was filled weeks ago and the posting just never got taken back down. Now, can you spot a ghost posting? Sometimes, but not always. But there are some red flags, and these could be things like that the job has been posted for 60, 90, 120 days without any updates, or the job is posted repeatedly with no changes, or the description is extremely vague and generic. Sometimes the company has multiple postings for the same role. And another indicator is if you apply and you never receive a single, not even an automated response. These signs, they don't guarantee it's a job posting, but they should tell you to probably not invest too much emotional energy into it. Now let's talk for a moment about reposting, because this confuses a lot of people. When a job gets posted, then it disappears and then it reappears a week later. It doesn't always mean something bad. In fact, it usually means one of three different things. Number one, the company didn't get enough qualified applicants during the first time of posting. So reposting, it just simply resets the algorithm and boosts the visibility of the job. Number two, the hiring manager changed the requirements. Maybe they realized that they needed a different level of experience or a different level of seniority. And then number three, the role was paused, maybe for budget reasons, which is something that happens quite often with larger corporations. So reposting, it doesn't necessarily mean that the job is fake. It usually just means that the company doesn't even know what they want. Here's the bottom line. Ghost postings and repostings, they're part of the modern job market. They're not a reflection of your value, and they're not a sign that you're doing anything wrong. They're simply noise in the system. And this is exactly why you can't rely on job boards alone. It's why networking matters. It's why relationships matter. It's why your visibility matters. When you're over 50, your best opportunities will almost always come from people, not from postings. Here's your weekly routine, the one that gives you the highest chance of getting hired. 10 to 15 networking actions, 3 to 5 recruiter interactions, and then 8 to 12 high-quality job board applications. This is a balanced, sustainable, high ROI job search strategy for people over 50. And here's the truth. You don't need to be the youngest candidate. You don't need to be the flashiest candidate. You just need to be the visible candidate, the one who shows up consistently, who communicates clearly, and the one who stays connected. You have decades of experience. You have resilience. You have perspective. And you have the value that companies desperately need, even if they don't know how to articulate that clearly. Your job is to stay in motion, to stay visible, to stay connected, and follow the strategy that actually works. I'm here with you every step of the way. This is the Ageism Survival Guide, and you're not doing this alone. Remember, youth runs fast, but age knows the terrain. See you next time.